The first video that I want to make in this series is what are the markets? Because I think it's very important for new traders to at least have some sort of understanding of what they're trading. I see a lot of people just hopping onto TradingView, copying down a pattern and placing a trade when you don't even know what the NASDAQ is. Like, you don't even know what you are trading and how the market works via risk flowing in and out of these different markets and where the money is flowing. So I think it's important to at least have a base understanding. And this is going to be a very, very simple little presentation that I made real quick. And it'll just help you out a lot, I think, in the bigger picture of things. So first off, we're just going to get right into it. A market is a place where people buy and sell an asset. Price moves based on buyers and sellers. Again, very simple. It's way more complicated than that. Every chart is just a visual of that interaction over time. So again, all the TradingView charts and all the candlesticks are just a visual representation of how price has moved in that given time frame. And then we will get into some other things. Yeah, if you skip the basics, everything else will just kind of feel confusing and blurry. So just make sure you have some understanding of this and get it down. You can go on Google or ChatGPT or whatever if you need a better understanding. So now let's go into the other categories of different markets. So we have stocks or equities, which are pretty much just individually traded public companies, things like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Nvidia, etc. And these can vary in risk from your penny stocks that you hear about in the Wolf of Wall Street or highest company, things like Coca-Cola, right, that are very stable. So that's pretty much it for stocks. We have indices, things like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. S&P 500 is just a basket of like the top performing stocks. You have a mixture of tech and banks and all that type of stuff. And then we have bonds, pretty much where you're the lender. I don't really mess around with bonds too much or like really any of this stuff except crypto, Forex, and indices. And commodity, actually a lot of it. So I'm going to go over all of it. Okay, so bonds, pretty much you're just lending to like the government or a big company for pretty much usually a low yield. Forex are just foreign currencies or paired against each other. So you can have like the US dollar versus the British pound. And then that will tell you when you're looking at the chart how the dollar is performing. So it shows strength and weakness of different countries' currencies. Commodities, things like gold, silver, then you also have like coffee, you can even trade like orange juice, bunch of different commodities, and pretty simple there. Derivatives, option, futures, pretty much just contracts and stuff like that you can trade, like the NASDAQ futures or options that expire. And then we have crypto, my favorite, and then under crypto goes into perpetuals or perps, which is my favorite thing to trade at the moment. But these are pretty much different categories, so it's good to just at least know what category you're trading in, even if you don't want to spend that much time on it, which I don't think you need to at all. Some base understanding is necessary for sure. And then I just kind of want to go into low risk to high risk. So this is very simple. Obviously, there's a whole narrative around people don't want to hold cash anymore, and the dollar is just plummeting, so we should get into other things. And even though that crypto's on the highest risk, some people might think Bitcoin is better to hold than dollars. It's very arbitrary to your own opinion, but this is just in general how it's been. Low risk, cash, bonds. And then moving up a little bit, we have large cap stocks, tech and growth, and then small caps, and then we have crypto, and then we have like, of course, the meme coins or NFTs, all of that jazz. So this is pretty much how like some of the cycles have moved. I'll just go over like the 2021 cycle and just show you kind of how it worked. People that, again, it's way more complicated than it seems because there's a lot of talks about, oh, this cycle is different, but I'll just run it down real quick so you can kind of see at least some sort of picture of what happens. So in 2021, as you know, COVID, the crash, and then started printing a bunch of money, gave the stimulus checks out, and then that was the trigger to go into higher risk or down the risk curve, right? So go into large cap stocks. These are things like Google, Apple, etc. And then we go down to stuff like Shopify. What else? There was Shopify, Tesla, whatever. Then the small caps. I don't even want to get into that. I don't even care about smalls. cap stocks. And then crypto, of course, Sol, ETH, Bitcoin, all of that absolutely mooned. And then finally, after all of that mooned, of course, the risk curve lowers, dude, I cannot speak, lowers into NFTs was the main thing of 2021. People are buying them for like millions of dollars. And then that's when the majority of people will jump into the market. So I just think it's interesting to see this and to make sure that you guys understand that if you are just jumping in at the highest risk right when everything's hot, meme coins are hot, NFTs are hot, small cap stocks are hot, you're pretty much just exit liquidity in the market. And that's when people come in and they try and think, oh, I'm going to become a trader. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to drop out of school to become a meme coin trader, an NFT trader, or a perps trader, whatever. And then that's usually the top of the market and you get wrecked. So seeing the full picture and understanding where some things move at the slightest bit is definitely essential. And that's pretty much it for the what are the markets. Obviously, this is a very simple definition and a very simple presentation, but it should at least help you get a better understanding of it. And then now in the next video, we'll hop into some technical analysis, how to get TradingView set up, and just pretty simple things like that before going into my strategy. So I'll catch y'all in the next vid.